race last year, which was a beauty. Alan Grice won from third grid position as we look at Brock sitting there on pole position.
Moffat late on the grid and having to wind his way down to his grid. John Harvey at the door of the Marlborough Holden dealer team Commodore. Larry Perkins already installed in the passenger seat. Push start for the car.
What an incident-filled first round, and don't be disappointed by the results or Alan Moffat's performance, because I don't think the car was 100%. They're the pair that incidentally will be driving a Porsche 956 in the Le Mans 24-hour, Peter Brock and Larry Perkins.
Quite confident that they can do it only with two drivers too, although Vern Schuppen, who won it this year, or in 1983, said that three drivers are absolutely essential these days.
Vern should know more about it.
Yes.
But to go back to the Touring Car Championship, I'm sure at later rounds that Alan Moffat, albeit by tremendous personal application, will do better than he's done at this one. So too, for that matter, does Dick Johnson expect to go better. ABC TV will be doing a very interesting event in Canberra on March 19, the JPS Rally Sprint, but one event which we won't be doing is the Geelong 500-kilometre road race at Easter.
And indeed, that means that most of us will be this Easter at Mount Panorama Bathurst for the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix.
But what it means is that the Geelong 500, which was to happen last year, and which was postponed, the organisers hoped, to this year, is not happening. They weren't able to get all the federal and state government support and commercial support that they hoped for and very much needed. And so the statement has now come from the organisers, Russell and John Lanyon, that the Geelong 500 street race is officially off.
And it's a great shame for them, as now the crowd in the grandstand goes wild for Peter Brock as he comes up to receive the accolades and the honours for round one of the Australian Touring Car Championship. Dick Johnson in front of him already.
I think it's reasonably warm in the grandstand or up on
The garland ready to go on Peter Brock as he steps from his motor car.
Just imagine how hot it would be to see Dick Johnson's red face.
Tim Lane down there ready to walk in and talk to the winner.
One that we haven't mentioned, of course.
Peter, would you like them to all be that comfortable, or do you enjoy something a bit closer from time to time?
Well, I couldn't work out how I kept on pulling away. I was watching the gaps and I thought, well, I better not falter here, because I reckon that sooner or later my car's going to ease off the pace a bit and Dick or Moffat were going to come through, but just couldn't believe it. I had to drive accurately and cleanly and not make any mistakes.
You said to Will Hagan and I yesterday that you thought if it was hot it would be in Moffat's favour and against the bigger cars because of tyres, etc. Well, did you expect the win today?
Well, I really didn't. I thought that Moffat would be snapping on my heels about lap 15 and finding a way through, and I'd be desperately trying to stop him. And Dick and I both thought the same. We were talking before the race saying, well, it's going to be a problem.
Well, this must augur fairly well for your chances in the series, although you will miss 2 rounds.
Yes, but of course you must drop one compulsorily, so it might finish up somewhere in the Touring Car Championship, that's for sure.
Okay, well, great stuff, Peter. Good luck in the remainder of this year's Touring Car Championship.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, so much for the first round of the 1984 Touring Car Championship at
Alan and Andrew Harris, backed by Kmart, but Dick Johnson in a brand new Falcon. Jim Richards contesting the championship this year for the first time, didn't do it last year in the BMW 635. Alan Moffat, of course, back. Peter McLeod in there, also in an RX-7, and George Fury in the Bluebird Turbo.
Peter, have you managed to improve on the car since last year?
Marginally. I don't think there's much we can do except fine-tuning. That means changing shocker valving, slightly adjusting the spring rates and the balance from front to rear and sway bars. The one thing that will change the car dramatically is a new tyre, a tyre which suits the power of the engine and the capacity of the brakes.
Do you have that?
We have had a lot of tyre testing over the last few months, and we've tried some fairly radical sort of tyre designs. At this stage, no, we're about where we were perhaps in the Castrol 400 last year, but better things around the corner.
Your lap times today have been marginally under Alan Moffat's lap record. How much has he got in reserve?
Well, doing laps in practice and doing laps in a race are two different things often, because to get some grip on a day like this where it's warm and the track's starting to weep a little bit of oil and tar and what have you, you need fresh, cold tyres that grip for 1 or 2 laps, and after that the grip goes away and the times deteriorate. The big problem we've had with Moffat is that he seems to be able to get that grip most of the time, even towards the end of a race. So despite the fact I'm a couple of tenths faster at the moment, I wouldn't expect to hold any advantage whatsoever during the race.
We're heading into the unknown again with Moffat's 13B engine in sprint condition. How do you think it will go?
Well, he was capable of winning the Castrol 400 last year, and if this is a 80-kilometre race, I'd imagine he should be very much the car to beat. Just what configuration the engine's in, or what he's done to improve the reliability or drivability of the car since then, I don't know, but I'd imagine he's got it right.
Well, Pete, you were sitting alongside Moffat on the grid and you saw him out of the business very early.
Yes, he turned hard right after the start line, which didn't surprise me. And I thought, well, I'm going to hang in here. I've got the big Aussie V8, I'll have a go. And about 100 yards before the corner, she exploded. The Mazda, something happened to it. Moffat just went poof and ended the race. I noticed the Datsun parked there too, so it was surprising to see 2 front runners, 2 fancied runners out so early.
Yeah. Well, even after the warm-up laps, you'd have looked across and seen steam pouring from Moffat's car. You'd have had a bit of a grin then?
Oh, it's very sad to see that, you know. It's like Collingwood being in front of about 10 goals at half-time in the grand final, you know. How good's this?
Well, it was a fairly comfortable drive for you.
Well, it was, but you have to maintain concentration, and Dick was keeping me extremely honest. I was looking at my lap times once I got about a 3.5 second gap, and Dick was maintaining that gap. In fact, if I worked very hard, I could maybe gain a tenth every now and then, which I wanted to get. I wanted to try and just sneak away from Dick, because 3 seconds is not far enough. A couple of cars spin in front of you, you make a drive error, and all of a sudden it's down to a second and you've got a battle on your hands. So I was working hard.
If the defending champion Moffat is to be your main opposition, he's got a DNF now, you've got a round out while you're in Le Mans. Which round will you miss?
Two rounds, actually. I miss Lakeside and Surfers Paradise. So I'm at 1 race disadvantage. I mean, we all drop 1, but I've got to get a perfect score and hope that the results are up and down the scale, and that the odd people get DNFs or 5th or 6th or something like that.
We've got a perfect score so far, 2 out of 2.
Looking good so far. I should quit while I'm ahead, I suppose.
Yeah, well done, Pete.
Thanks, Drew.
Peter, pole position, 2nd round of the Australian Touring Car Championship in a row. Not too bad.
No, very, very tight though. I was watching and hoping that I would retain pole, because I had a new set of tyres to put on the car, sitting in the grid. But it's a pity to spend $1,000 just to try and go a couple of tenths faster. So yes, we're very happy.
Peter, the Mazda of Moffat is supposed to be the car to beat at this circuit.
I'd say there's no doubt about that. Despite the fact that we have got vastly improved brakes and better tyre performance, and we think we've got our chassis working very well. After 6 or 7 laps around here on the door handles, pulling, lapping in 58s, you find that, the brake pedal starts getting a bit funny down near the hairpin. And I do know from experience that Moffat's car seems to be able to continue on at that practice lap effort all the race. But, it remains to be seen, really.
You've done a lot of work on your brakes, though, haven't you?
Yes, a lot, yes. We've reduced our brake temperatures down dramatically through ducting and the design of the caliper and the disc. And we're very, very happy with the performance of the brakes. It's just that when you're running a bigger, more powerful car, you certainly need your brakes are working harder. It's as simple as that. Can you allow yourself to be sucked into a braking duel in the opening laps tomorrow? I'd hope that in the opening laps that my car will do those sorts of lap times that it does in practice without any drafts or anything like that to improve the speed. So I'd hope to be able to get out a few seconds and then not get involved. So I'll be going very hard in the early laps, and then I'll try and maintain a gap. Now, whether I can maintain it or not remains to be seen.
John Harvey, a pretty innocent victim in that incident in lap 17 of the Touring Car Championship.
Well, that's true. It was just one of those situations. I had a wall of cars in front of me, and on a slightly wet road, applying the brakes really meant nothing. I mean, I locked everything up, hit Wilmington, who was sideways anyway, and punted him clean off the road. But fortunately, from my point of view, in doing that, I knocked off a fair bit of speed by the time I hit the grass, and realised I was going to hit that earth bank that they've built over there. I had time to just give my shoulder strap one little tighten, because I knew I was going to hit, and I could have hit it at, say, 50 mile an hour or something head on. And during the time of sliding down the grass, I also had time to see Alan Moffat disappearing up the bank, and I could see that he was going to hit the tree, which he did. He hit it head on, and it did an awful lot of damage to the Mazda, and I was unhurt, obviously, so I was able to get to Alan and get him out of the car.
Did you reckon you were going to hurt yourself?
Didn't think so, no. I thought I had enough speed knocked off, and I could see that the bank is made of tyres, and so it would have some give in. It's not like hitting Armco, and that's about what happened.
And when you got to Alan Moffat, how was he?
Well, he was in slight shock, and he'd cut his chin and or nose, lips. He had a little bit of blood around there. Nothing real serious that I could see. He was complaining about his fingers. I'm not sure if he hurt his fingers, or they may have went off the steering wheel and hit the dashboard when he hit. But anyway, we relaxed him and kept him calm until the doctor arrived, and he took over from there.
And what did you do actually as you're approaching the barrier? You're hanging onto the wheel or what?
No, I just pulled my arms like that and pulled my head in because I didn't want to hit and snap my neck, so I put my head down so that it didn't move far.
And how is Alan's car?
Oh, Alan's car is a write-off. I mean, not only has it bent the bodywork and the chassis, but we had a quick look under the bonnet up there, and it's broken the rotary engine, the crankcases are broken, the manifolds. I would say that transmission is also damaged. It's a real mess.
What sort of speed do you think he'd have been doing when he actually hit the tree?
Well, I think he was doing about twice my speed because, as I said, I was able to watch him disappearing up the grass, and he didn't have the advantage that I had of hitting a car and knocking speed off. I mean, he had a slight touch with Wilmington, but when he went off the road onto the grass, he was nearly at full speed. And, of course, on wet grass, there's no traction. You just don't slow down, you accelerate.
What speed would you have been doing then when you left the track?
Oh, it's a bit hard to say on a wet road. I think we must have been close on 100 miles an hour. Close to that. Say 90 to 100, I'm not really sure, but it was very quick, I can assure you.
And how did you see the accident happening? Did you see actually Wilmington hit Moffat or Moffat go across him?
Look, it's a little unclear in my mind because things like that happen too quick. I can recall that we caught Wilmington, who was the slower car. Both Dick and Peter McLeod went round on the outside, as far as I can recall. Alan and I went to go on the inside of Wilmington, who then pulled down on his line or got stuck on the slippery drag racing solution on the track or whatever, lost it. Alan hit him, bounced off the inside wall, and then there was cars everywhere, and I hit Wilmington.
Well, if we have just a quick look at the car, how much work is there to get it to Oran Park in 2 weeks' time?
Oh, not a lot. I mean, it's superficial damage, really. It's body work, as you can see, but we've checked both the chassis rails are straight. The steering's okay. You know, they're very strong cars, and to have an impact like that and still be able to steer it, no problem. I mean, really, if we just put mudguards and bonnet on this car and a new grille, she's away. There's no...
John, with Peter away, it must be feeling good to be back in the driver's seat.
Excellent. I'm really enjoying it. The car's running fine. I particularly enjoy a fast circuit, of which Surfers is one of those in the country, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
What times are you down to so far, John?
Well, first session just ended. I've done a 15.1, but fortunately I've got a little bit up my sleeve in that I did that on used tyres. Most everybody else out there are only fractionally fast that did it on new tyres. So I know this interview goes to air towards the end of the day, so I'm going to put a new set on for the last session. I'm just going to pull the pin and go for it because I want to be on that front row.
John, have you been given any instructions by Peter as to what to do tomorrow in terms of point score?
No, none whatsoever. I mean, obviously, if I could finish ahead of Moffat and Dick Johnson, that would be to Peter's advantage, but there's certainly no plan to do that or to hold them up deliberately or anything like that. I mean, I'm just going to run my own race, and I'm hoping for a good result, and at this stage I'm feeling pretty good. The car's fine. The guys have done a really good job preparing it. Considering I haven't driven since about lap 20 of Bathurst last year, I'm quite pleased with the time.
The big Ford Falcon on the way out of the corner.
Brock out of the race. Peter Brock pulling out of the motor race, and so his chance of winning a touring car championship just about shot as he pulls off the track. Brock, the out on their ninth in this 35-lap race.
There's Brocky walking away.
And back. Okay.
Peter, the hard luck story of the race, what happened?
Well, the tail shaft broke. This particular item here, well, we haven't broken one before, and one presumes you're always going to break something sometime.
Could the surface crash have done it?
Yes, I think probably it strained things a little bit. We were just talking about it a moment ago, and that probably is strained it, yeah.
Well, here's hoping you don't have the same problems at Le Mans in 2 weeks' time.
No, here's hoping I do a few more laps.
Peter, thank you.
Thank you.
And while Peter Brock is at Le Mans in 2 weeks, frankly, of the two races, Harvey's odds of victory tomorrow are substantially shorter, perhaps, than Brock and Perkins at Le Mans.
The Marlboro Holden dealer team usually runs like clockwork, but that wasn't the case at Oran Park. He had problems.
Yes, we had a component failure there. It was the tail shaft broke in the car while Peter was leading, and leading quite handsomely very early in the race. However, it's a component that we change every 4 races as a precaution. That was the beginning of its 3rd race, and we checked the tail shaft just through normal maintenance prior to the event, and we've unable to offer a reason why it broke. It just broke, and it's just one of those things that happens to competitors from time to time.
For you this year, it's we're seeing quite a bit of you on the circuit. Is it something that you're trying to get back into more racing, or how do you feel about it?
Well, obviously I feel very happy about it. No, the reason for that is Peter's competing at Silverstone and Le Mans, both races conflicted with touring car championship rounds, so I'm doing those to fill in for Peter.